So I did a poll recently asking my followers what sort of topics they wanted me to cover. And the bulk of it came up with relationship advice. So I guess people are feeling a little bit under the weather when it comes to their relationships and they just want some advice. And one of the interesting ones that came up was someone asking what happens when you love each other but you just cannot be together. How do you deal with that? And I feel that it's a very hard situation to be in when you know that love is so close in your grasp and is there, and yet you can't seem to work it out, and you know that it's mutual, so it's from both of you, but you just don't see eye to eye. So I wanted to look at some of the other factors that may affect your relationship and why the person that you love may leave you. And most people seem to think that if there's no abuse or cheating, then everything else can be worked on. But there's a lot of other factors that need to be taken into account in order for a relationship to be of good quality and to have longevity. If you haven't been to my page, welcome. I'm Hamasa. I look at mental and emotional well-being, as well as personal development and just day-to-day issues. Please do subscribe to my page so that you're up to date with all my content. Now, so let's look at some of the factors that may affect your loved one leaving you. And like I said, you may think that you're so close and love is just in your grasp and everything's working out. And the issue with love is that it's such an addictive thing that regardless of how many times we get hurt, how many times we get broken, we always end up looking for more love. That's just human nature. So it's very normal for us to want to be loved and to be in a relationship with someone. But love alone isn't the glue that can hold a relationship together. And some of these factors are incredibly important, where people tend to not really put an emphasis or an importance on it, but lack of could really break your relationship down. And the first thing, of course, is respecting each other. You could love someone immensely, but if they're not feeling respected in the relationship, with the way that you behave, with the way that you speak to them, with the way that you address them, with the way that you carry yourself, with the way that you react to them being upset, all these things that if you're not taking into account and are respectful of the boundaries of the situation, then most likely it'll come back and bite you in the ass. Respect is really the basis of most relationships. So regardless of how much your partner may love you, if they don't feel respected in the relationship and their dignity is at question, remember that person's dignity would always come first. And so if you don't speak to them in a respectful manner, address them or deal with situations in a respectful way, then most likely you would lose your partner. My second point or factor that may affect your relationship, even though there's a lot of love there, is a lack of emotional support. Emotional support is incredibly important because there are things that other people could fulfill for you, but when it comes to emotional support, only your partner could fill that shoes in the way that you want them to. Because a lot of relationships go through a lot of ups and downs. And in order for you to be able to resolve these situations, you've got to be able to make yourself vulnerable. And you've got to know that just because you've made yourself vulnerable, this will not come back and have repercussions or be used against you as ammunition. And if you feel like you cannot be vulnerable and get that support back, then you will start fronting and pretending like you're okay, internalizing the issue, and in due time, it'll break down. And same with your partner. If they don't feel like you're giving them that support, if they're talking about something important, you're dismissive, you're not paying attention, you're not showing them the respect and support they need, then they will just shut. The thing can be that your partner doesn't feel adequate. So no matter what they do or what they show you, you don't validate that. You don't show appreciation, you don't show acknowledgement, or you make them feel like what they're doing isn't enough. And if someone constantly feels like they need to win you over, or they don't receive any emotional validation back, then it's very easy for them to feel very detached and closed off from you. So being able to appreciate and openly communicate that, show gratitude, make them feel like they are good enough for you, it gives them an incentive to do more nicer things for you if you are acknowledging the things that they're already doing. So it's important to show gratitude and make your partner feel like they are good enough for you. Next point is a lack of physical intimacy. And by that, I mean not sexual, it's non-sexual contact. It just means cuddling, being close, holding hands, skin to skin contact, feeling safe and secure and protected, being able to cuddle and things like that. Because a loss of physical intimacy most times leads to a loss of emotional intimacy. And once you've lost that, then the relationship's kind of doomed and the days are numbered. So it's important to show affection and attention to your partner in a non-sexual way. If there's a real lack of physical intimacy that's non-sexual, then it's very easy for you to feel very distant from your partner, or them feeling distant from you, which only means that they would look for that closeness elsewhere. So you don't want your partner to start looking for physical intimacy somewhere else because it's just no longer in your relationship, or you don't deem it as important. The next point is that people don't feel listened to. We're always told that communication is key in relationships, and so we need to be able to communicate, but it's no good being able to talk, but not listen to what someone else or your partner has to say. And if you're not listening to comprehend and help the situation, you're only listening to reply, then your partner will feel like there is no point in talking anymore. There's no point in expressing how they feel, because it falls on deaf ears and it doesn't get listened to or understood. It gets twisted, it gets thrown back in your face, it gets taken out of context. And so listening and learning to listen correctly, to understand and help the situation and not just listen to reply, is very, very important. And finally, for us to wrap our heads around why certain relationships don't work out even though there is love in it, is understanding that some people just lose that emotional connection. And that's nothing you could really do about that. They just no longer feel that deep emotional connection between you and them. So if that happens, we just have to accept and understand that we cannot control other people. They're entitled to feel what they want to feel and behave how they want to behave. It's down to us how much we stick to our boundaries and allow people to treat us a certain way, or we don't. So if someone genuinely loses their emotional connection with you, it's really not down to you, and you have to have enough respect for yourself to understand that if my feelings and love isn't reciprocated, then I don't need to necessarily stick around and tolerate that. That's why it's incredibly important for us to build relationships on genuine friendship, because once the honeymoon period fades and the excitement fades and you two have had enough time to settle and the dust settles, if there isn't a genuine friendship where the respect comes without saying, where communication's open, where you guys like each other's company, you have things in common, is what makes more relationship last. Because of course the excitement is fun and the chemistry is great, but once that kind of settles and fades, there needs to be a sense of emotional connection, respect, and understanding of each other. So I hope that this video has given you guys some closure as to why certain relationships don't work out even though there's love in it. It's very hard to see something come to an end and to be able to accept it, but like I said in my previous videos, not every person that comes into your life is meant to stay there. This is just one chapter in your book. So it doesn't mean that everything that happens is like a punishment or is that you did something wrong. There are just certain things to look out for to understand why things didn't work out the way you thought that they would. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have, or you feel like someone may need it, please do share it with them. And please do like and comment on this video and subscribe to my page so that you're up to date with my future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys here again next week. Mwah.